So there's a saying that says, comparison is the thief of joy. And I ponder on that quite a lot, because I catch myself every single day comparing myself to other people's successes. And there's always going to be people with more than you or seemingly more successful than you, and there's also going to be people the other way who are not as successful as you and are judging you and all this stuff. It's always going to happen, right? It's natural human instinct. But you need to have the understanding of what's going on there, why you feel the need to compare yourself to others, and with that understanding it sort of lessens itself a bit, right? Because it is, if you're comparing yourself to other people all the time, the path leads to absolutely nowhere, and essentially you end up living, you end up trying to live somebody else's life with somebody else's versions of what success is and what success isn't, right? In my game, in the property development game and whatever else, there's always going to be people and companies bigger numbers doing bigger transactions than I am, right? Same as anything in life, right? And if I held myself to trying to hit those standards all the time, especially where I am today, I'd probably end up going bump, because I haven't got the infrastructure or anything else around me. So you have to run your own race. You have to look at where you are in your life, look in the mirror, take full responsibility for that. Ask yourself, how can you get there without being irresponsible, depending on where where you want to go in life and where life seems to be leading for you. We, as a Western civilization, rightly or wrongly, very often tie our identity to what we perceive success to be. And if you go to the East, go to different cultures and societies, the ego identity isn't necessarily about the same thing as what it is in the West. It doesn't make it right or wrong, it makes it subjective, right? So what are we actually comparing to? And there's a book that was written by James Carse called Finite and Infinite Games. I encourage people to read it. It's easy to read, and it's quite impactful. He talks about people, the average person plays a finite game, which is zero sum, meaning someone wins and someone loses. It's within a set paradigm, it's with fixed rules. Whereas the really successful people tend to play an infinite game, which is they play and they can never lose. And the reason they can never lose is because they're playing their own game, and the paradigm is within it. They've set their own paradigm. There isn't a fixed rules to play. It isn't zero sum. There isn't a winner and a loser. They can never lose the game. I encourage reading the book. Obviously, it'll go into more detail. And once you start playing that different, operating within that different paradigm, you understand that the comparison game is a path to unhappiness, right? I'm not saying be happy or unhappy, whatever. That's sort of a different conversation. But social media, you go to network meetings and people are bullshitting and all this, and you can pick it up if you know what you listen to. The minute you start separating yourself from all that, the minute you start focusing on yourself and what you're doing, the minute all that tends to fall away, social media becomes like a laughing stock, really. Something that I've done numerous times is like a digital detox on stuff. Try not to get on Instagram and Twitter and all that crap for a prolonged period of time, a week or two. And the benefits are profound, because you're not looking at what everybody else is doing, and there's always going to be that instinctual trying to be better than them and whatever else. And I mean, you can use that as fuel to do better things, but when it's having a negative impact, when you're looking at other people, it's having a negative impact on your life. It's causing far more harm than good. Something that I've done in the past as well, which has been quite impactful, is I have a conversation with my future self. So where you want to get to in life, have a conversation with that person and see the feedback that you get, because essentially you're talking to yourself, but from sort of a different state of consciousness, if you like. And I've had a lot of wisdom come from myself when I've sort of separated my ego when I'm in the moment to when I'm sort of talking from a higher place. And that person you can compare yourself to. Compare yourself to where you want to get to in the future, but just make sure it is where you want to get to in the future, and you're not just running somebody else's race. You know, make sure that you're not believing that you want something just because society says you want it. You can tend to find the things that you really want in life are things that you generally speaking are attracted to when you're on your own. What do you surround yourself with in the house? That's always a question that I tend to ask myself. You know, what do you surround yourself with every day when no one's looking? What do you think about when you haven't got any stress? When you're not worried about, you know, worldly concerns? What do you look at? What do you focus on? What are you interested in? And you can sort of pull a picture together from that. You know, if someone said to me, you know, you're doing property stuff and a bit of crypto stuff and whatnot, I'll say, well, yeah, but they aren't my sole interests. You know what I mean? I like to perceive myself a little bit as like a bit of a Renaissance guy, to be honest, where I like a bit of everything. I like business, I like philosophy, I like spirituality, I like all of this stuff. You don't have to just focus on one lane. I know that it's very common nowadays to just say, you know, stick to one thing. I don't necessarily think that's true, if I'm being honest. I think being able to hold conversations on many different things is actually a superpower nowadays, rather than just knowing one thing. I know that goes against, you know, quite a few so-called gurus out there. But if I was to say one thing, bringing it back to myself, I'd say get off social media. It's had a big impact whenever I've done that. You can go back on it or solely use it for marketing purposes rather than just for, doom scrolling and see what's going on in the world, because most of that's a load of bullshit as well, just to strike your dopamine centres. And just sort of notice yourself doing it, rather than being sucked into it. Just say, look, there I am comparing myself to other people again and have a laugh about it. Sort of separate yourself from the instincts that you've got going on, so you can witness them as an observer rather than just being swallowed up by them. Yeah, I hope that's sort of helped people a little bit. There's zero benefit from comparison with other people. You compare yourself to your future self, but it's just a waste of time. Just do it until you're fed up of doing it. If you can't seem to get into the habit, just become aware of yourself doing it, because you'll just get fed up, man. You'll just get fed up of doing it.